Yo, what is Zach? Welcome back to my channel of RWBY Mythology. Today, I'm bringing you guys another RWBY discussion video, or another event essay video that I'm wanting to do. I wanted to end this debate that people are basically talking about, saying that Jaune is the better main character than RWBY because he has more character development than RWBY. And this whole debate thing has been going on for quite some time, and it shows that people have not understand the story and the character of Ruby Rose. So I wanted to end that debate, even though the debate will still continue on or whatever. So clearly people have not understand when it comes to character development, which that's completely full of shit. That you guys are too focused on other things and not focused on the stories or the characters. The show is literally about the four girls, not Jaune. Jaune is basically the fifth main character of this series, not the first main character. Even though Volume 1 has been focusing on Jaune, because that's really what Motion wants to develop the side characters. And then Volume 2 will focus on just the Team RWBY, basically Blake dealing with the White Fang. Volume 3 is more focused on basically the villain side of the story, how they win. But that doesn't mean some of the characters do have a development, like Ruby Rose, for example. And I already did like a character growth video about Ruby Rose as a character, same goes for Jaune. But I'm gonna bring this up. Ruby Rose is the youngest member of the team, and the fact that Ozpen is willing to bring a 2-year training student to the Beacon Academy much earlier, that all because she has silver eyes. And it's just the fact that Ruby is now the team leader, she has to deal with the burden of the leadership. That's the part of the character growth, the burden to lead. And you guys gotta remember her path, her dream to become the hero, the hunter. And she wants to follow her mother's footsteps. That's her growth. That's her goal. That's her development. She's a lovable character, and that's the whole point of her character. And you can see her development has changed from Volume 1 to 3, where she started to become more of a leader. How far she has grown, started to take the leader role of her team because of her mature and understanding her teams, etc. And when she witnessed the death of both Penny and Pyrrha, that traumatized her, and that trauma never goes away. In Volume 4, when Ruby had her, let's just say, moment with Jaune, when Ruby felt guilt that she blamed herself to dragging her friends into this mess, that's guilt. That's a development. And some people say she doesn't have any guilt or grief or no development, then you guys literally are misunderstood. Ruby does bury the guilt, and she hides it because she doesn't want to have anyone to carry her and comfort her of this grief and this guilt of her blaming herself that she couldn't save Penny, she couldn't save Pyrrha, she couldn't save Blake or Yang when they got hurt. She wasn't there when they needed her the most. That's the burden. She felt guilt. She felt the responsible of everything. And Volume 5, well, there's really not much going to Volume 5, honestly, and the fact that the Team RWBY has been formed. Volume 6 is where Ruby finally has grown a development, take the leadership role, be more mature, and basically question Ozpen, questioning everything. That's something that characters should question of someone they trust, which is Ozpen. So that's also a development of questioning the person who wants to fight against Salem. and the fact that, well, there's no killing Salem, so Ruby kind of lost trust to Ozpin, because Ruby did trust Ozpin and learned the truth. He lost that trust to Ruby. And volume 7, yes, it was kind of a dumb decision that Ruby decided to hide the truth from Ironwood, etc. But she has grown as a character her own way. Volume 8, we see that she has grown her own development in her own way, and she believes that they need backup, they need help, and of course the whole biting heads with Yang, when Yang calls her that, you're not doing a good job to lead, that kind of hits Ruby. Like, that's something she did not expect from her sister of all people. And then the moment between Ruby and Yang, when they found out, when they discussed about the Hound, when she broke down in tears, like, basically 2 times in a row, Salem mentioned about Summer Rose, and seeing the Silver Eye Warrior, aka the Hound, and the fact Ruby comes to a conclusion that that's what happened to her mother. So that was kind of development as well, when she believes that her mother is not becoming like a monster, and she knows one day she will have to face the monster that once was her mother. And volume 9 is where she very got a development where she's at her limits, her breaking points, because the death of Penny was the breaking point, and it triggers her. She's in a deep despair, and everyone just ignore her when things are a little too late. When everyone is focusing on Jaune with his suffering, no one even bothers to check on Ruby. But it was already too late when they noticed. So Ruby snapped. She got on her own, and then she decided to, well, drink herself to death. And then when she learns the truth about her mother, that, well, Ozpin didn't assign any mission to Summer. Summer chose to go on her own. And then Ruby learns that you don't have to follow your mother's footsteps. You need to follow your own path. Sorry. Like, you have to follow your own path. So basically, Ruby has been followed her mother's shadow. That's basically what Ruby's character is. Following someone else's shadow. So that's basically her arc. That's basically her development. She needs to forge her own path, not following path like her mother, to step out the shadow. Ruby does suffer. She just doesn't show it because she knows that is something that Penny and Pyrrha don't want them to suffer. They want them to keep moving forward, and that's what Ruby does. And Ruby does feel guilt. She does. She's been holding that grief and guilt for so long, especially in Volume 3 when she was grieved for the loss of Pyrrha. Some people say that Ruby don't grieve for anyone, which that's full of shit, because she does. Ruby has the will about Penny and Pyrrha in front of Oscar. You could tell the tone of her voice that she does feel guilt of everything. Again, she blamed herself that she wasn't there on time. She felt that she couldn't say, I'm trying to save everyone. Like, we've seen it in the entire series. She blamed herself. She wants to save everyone, but when things get tough and difficult, she blames herself. That she grows. She tries to do better, but no matter what she does, no matter what she tries, it ends up badly because she's in her mother's shadow. That's the reason. She needs to step out of that shadow to be her own person. That is her development. Now, when it comes to Jaune is basically similar to RWBY. Both of them are basically the same. Jaune is RWBY's foil. They both are the same. Jaune basically cheated his way to the Banking Academy because he wants to be a huntsman to honor his family's legacy. And the fact that he has no experience and able to get himself in and cheat himself in, surprising he never got caught. And the only person who was there to help him was Pyrrha, but he pushed her away. And Pyrrha still helps her. Still helps him, I'm saying. And when Jaune been selected as a leader, he has the burden to lead people, just like RWBY. And the build-up between Jaune and Pyrrha was so strong, it made it, guilt. When Pyrrha died, Jaune felt guilt and the responsible that he couldn't stop her. And he blamed himself as a leader, but he knows he needs to keep moving forward. But that's something that he has a hard time doing because he is blinded with anger and hate for Cinder. We've seen it in Volume 5 when he saw Cinder. The feel of anger and hate and suffering he had. And we've seen it firsthand. In Volume 6, he finally lets it go and move forward. Because that's something that Pyrrha wants. And Pyrrha wants him to be better, to be a better warrior, be a better huntsman like her. Even though Jaune still kept the part of Pyrrha, the red cloak, not the red cloak, the red ribbon or whatever, that he kept around her and kept around him, that shows that he hasn't let go of her. That's something he couldn't do. Even though he wanted to, but he just couldn't. So, that's the thing. If he's willing to keep moving forward, he needs to learn to let go. Basically, let go of the part of Pyrrha. But he didn't. He still kept the part of Pyrrha with him. So, that's one thing, that's a problem. And then we've seen how far he has grown to be a strong leader and a strong warrior that Pyrrha wants him to be. That should be the end of his arc until Volume 8, when he took a life for the first time, taking Penny's life. That traumatized him because RWBY had dealt with trauma when he saw the death, quote unquote, of Penny and the death of Pyrrha. That was trauma. That happened in Volume 3. Jaune had to deal with the trauma when he took Penny's life in Volume 8. So that hits him. But it was Penny's choice and asked Jaune to end her life to pass on the Winter Maiden to Winter. And Volume 9, we see Jaune as an old man alone, dealing with the grief and suffering and regret of what he has done. The paper pleaser, when Wyatt said, why do you care about them so much? And Jaune said, I could actually protect someone. Like I said, both RWBY and Jaune has something in common. RWBY wants to save and protect everyone. Jaune wants to save and protect everyone. Both of them have the same development, same the grief, the guilt, the suffering, and the burden on their shoulder. That's why these two are basically the same character, same development, but different goal. RWBY wants to follow her mother's footsteps. Jaune wants to honor his family's legacy. There's a difference. John doesn't have the same goal of Ruby to follow his father's footsteps. He just wants his legacy, honor his legacy. That's his goal, honoring his legacy to be a huntsman. Ruby wants to follow her mother's footsteps. And John hasn't stepped out of the shadow of his family's legacy. He still wants to honor that legacy. Ruby, she stepped out of her mother's shadow to be her own person. So that's different. And the fact people say that John is a better main character, which, don't get me wrong, I love John, I really do, but he's not the main character of the series, regardless what y'all fuckers say. And y'all need to understand, the show is basically evolved just the 4 girls, and mostly the main character is Ruby Rose herself. And John is basically the 5th main character of the team, even though he is the team leader of his own team, but he's basically the 5th main character. But he's not the main character. Ruby is. The 4 girls are, but mostly Ruby herself. So this whole debate thing that people say John is better than Ruby, that John has better development than Ruby, which you not pay attention to the story, or you just do not give a shit about the series or whatever. Like, if you look at both of their characters and their development, they're basically the same. Same growth, same development. Both are the team leaders of their own team, carrying the burden, holding the grief, the pain, the suffer they've been held on. And they both have a different path. Like I said, John wants to honor the legacy, and Ruby wants to follow her mother's footsteps. Those are the two different. But here's something that's different. John still wants to honor the family legacy. Ruby has stepped out of her mother's shadow to be her own person. John has not be his own person, not stepping out his family's legacy to be his own. That is something that he needs to learn. In the Volume 9 Beyond, when John speaking to Oscar, the only one that he's basically can relate to, because John has been in the Ever After much longer than Team RWBY, and the other one who has good connection and have understanding what it's like to live so long is Ozpin, which is very, very interesting development that John, even though he distrusts Ozpin after everything he's did, and he's willing to give Ozpin a chance, and the fact that he goes straight to him for his wisdom and his knowledge, and someone that he could relate to now. So that says a lot. But yeah, but then again, I still stand by that. I believe that RWBY and John are basically the same character with the same development. And this whole debate thing is fucking stupid. That John is better than RWBY, which, again, I love John. I really do. But RWBY is better than John. I don't give a shit what y'all motherfuckers have to say. And both of them are basically the same. So, yeah. So, I just want to make this video. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Links to my other channel, my social medias will be down below in the description box. You guys know the drill. Links to my Cash App, PayPal, Ko-fi will be down below in the description box and in my bio if you guys want to donate to support the channel. Again, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. RWBY is love, RWBY is life. Keep moving forward, and I'll see you guys later.